According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, up to 39% of teenagers struggle with self-harm behavior. Although common, this mental health issue is clearly an uncomfortable and confusing topic that's now beginning to receive more attention. Self-harm can be defined as hurting oneself on purpose, but not with the intention of dying. The most common ways to do this are by cutting, burning, scratching the skin, hitting to the point of bruising, breaking bones, biting, falling on purpose, and so on. Self-harm can also involve taking a minor substance overdose, but not a lethal dose. Acts of self-harm can be done on impulse, and can also be pre-planned. And for anyone who's never struggled with this issue, the primary question usually is, why would someone ever want to do this? People who self-harm provide a range of reasons, but some of the most common ones include dealing with distressing emotions, punishing oneself for expressing self-hatred or self-anger, a desire to no longer feel numb, attempting to make emotional pain feel like physical pain, a desire to feel real, which can serve as an escape for emotional pain and distressing thoughts, and so on. But how do you go about helping your teen if they're struggling with self-harm behavior? Let's get started. For the first step, it's important to identify the behavior. For the vast majority of people, they tend to hide this behavior as opposed to doing it overtly for attention. For instance, a common place to self-harm is higher up on the forearms or the inside of thighs, as these are places where clothing can typically hide the abrasions. But how can you identify this behavior if you're unable to see the signs of self-harm? Common warning signs include appearing withdrawn or quieter than usual, avoiding participation in regular activities, experiencing rapid changes of mood as well as struggles to manage emotions, getting angry or upset easily, experiencing a recent breakup with a significant other, experiencing a sudden drop in grades when compared to usual academic performance, having unexplained cuts or scratches, wearing clothes that are inappropriate for the weather, such as wearing longer sleeves in the summer or refusing to wear shorts to hide cuts or abrasions. Now for step 2, it's important to try to remain calm if you discover your teen is struggling with self-harm behavior. For most parents, this is going to be a significant challenge, as it's understandably quite bothersome and confusing to discover that someone you love is intentionally hurting themselves. So for starters, I'd suggest doing your best to remain calm and avoid catastrophizing the behavior. Remember, the goal of self-harm is to help cope with pain, even though it's a negative coping method. So I encourage you to do your best to not be judgmental and ask your teen how they've been feeling lately. If they're comfortable enough to communicate with you about this, you have a much better chance of being able to help them manage this behavior. It's also very important to educate yourself about this issue, so you have a better idea of what you're dealing with. And while it's important to validate their feelings of pain, you obviously don't want to support using self-harm behavior as a coping method. Other coping strategies can be used to help your teen manage this issue, which I'll discuss later in the video. For the next step, assuming you've established some semblance of communication with your teen, discuss when the self-harm behavior started. This discussion aims to get a sense of how it started and why they decided to use self-harm as a coping method. Chances are good your teen's been under far more stress than you realize, and they've been deeply impacted by something or several things you're unaware of, or at the very least, unaware of the severity of these thoughts or events. Knowing where it all started and what triggers continue to contribute to this problem is very important information to have. If your teen's uncomfortable or unwilling to share this information, I suggest not pressing them about it. Instead, it'd be wise to continue supporting and furthering your connection with them in the interim. For the fourth step, it's time to develop a plan to help your teen deal with self-harm behavior. In an ideal world, your teen acknowledges there's a problem and is willing to be part of the solution at this point. If that's the case, a good first step would be to make an appointment with their healthcare practitioner, which could be a physician, nurse practitioner, or pediatrician. Or your teen can meet with a psychotherapist to begin developing a plan to cope with distressing emotions that lead to self-harm behavior. If your teen's unwilling to see a mental health professional at this point, I'd start by trying to develop a plan in collaboration with your teen to manage this behavior at home. I suggest informing your teen that you'll check on them periodically, especially during the evening. The goal isn't to be overbearing in any way. Still, there's going to be a greater risk of self-harm when they're alone in their room in the evening, as this is a time of day that there are fewer distractions, as well as a greater likelihood of thinking about things that aren't going well, which can lead to significant feelings of distress. I'd also encourage you to inform your teen there's no intention to invade their privacy, but if they have something they self-harm with, such as a razor blade, checks will be made to remove it. Understandably, this probably won't go over well with your teen, but allowing them self-harm whenever they're struggling to manage emotions clearly isn't a viable option. Instead, it would be important for your teen to learn other strategies that can be utilized for coping that won't create permanent marks or unnecessary harm. For the fifth step, reducing your teen's stress is important. Stress on top of a pre-existing problem makes things worse. And stress comes in all kinds of forms. There isn't just emotional stress. There's stress from a lack of sleep, eating very poorly or rarely eating at all, doing an abundance of schoolwork, being involved in too many activities, and so on. So I'd start by chatting with your team and attempt to collaborate about where you can reduce stress, or at least minimize it in the short term. Ideally, I'd encourage you to avoid taking an all or nothing approach when implementing a plan to minimize stress. Instead, aim to make gradual improvements in areas that can be helpful, such as increasing sleep and eating healthier, or at least eating more consistently if they aren't eating regularly. And set a goal to make gradual decreases in areas that are contributing to stress, such as limiting time in areas that are adding to feelings of distress. For my sixth and final step, it's important to have a plan to deal with distressing thoughts and feelings that can lead to self-harm behavior. In collaboration with your team, and ideally with the assistance of a therapist, I'd highly suggest beginning to learn about dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT, to help manage these emotions, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. To provide a little background about this treatment method, dialectical means bringing two opposites in therapy together, acceptance and change. And this form of treatment can be particularly helpful for people who struggle with managing emotions. Simply put, DBT involves developing four skill areas: core mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness, to all help your team manage behaviors, emotions, and thoughts better. As a parent, one area that you can help your team, whether they're willing to attend therapy or not, is to help establish distress tolerance skills to use when they're feeling overwhelmed. This would start by having them rate feelings of distress on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 equals no distress and 10 equals extreme distress. When distress ratings are between a 4 and a 6, that would be considered a moderate distress zone. 6 to 8 would be a highly distressed zone, and 8 to 10 would be an area of extreme distress. Once the level of distress is identified, there needs to be healthy strategies to help your team cope with each level of distress. Otherwise, they're likely to continue engaging in self-harm behavior. For example, if your team's experiencing extreme level of distress between 8 and a 10, and they want to harm themselves, but they attempt to use deep breathing, instead, it probably isn't going to work. Why? You need a strategy that can help to match the strong level of distress they're feeling, but it can't be something that leaves marks or is overtly harmful. So as an example of a strategy that can be utilized for an extreme level of distress, one could snap an elastic band on the wrist, squeeze crushed ice, run hands under very cold water, walk outside briefly during the winter months without a coat, put your bare hands in snow, do an intense burst of exercise, such as sprinting on a treadmill until it feels like your lungs are burning, activate burning muscles such as forearms using forearm grippers until you feel a burning discomfort, and so on. Once again, the key here is to try a few different strategies and see what your team's willing to do to replace self-harm behavior. It'll probably take some experimentation to find a strategy they're willing to use, but the persistence will be worth it. Now, if your team's experiencing a high level of distress, they may want to try some of the strategies I've just mentioned, or possibly strategies that are a little bit less intensive, such as doing push-ups, doing a wall sit, which is putting your back against the wall with your knees bent like you're sitting on a chair, but there isn't a chair there, and then holding this position until there's a burning sensation in the legs. Taking a colder shower than normal. Using distraction by playing a demanding but interesting game with others online, and so on. And for moderate levels of distress, once again, your team could try any of the aforementioned strategies I've listed, or less intense ones, such as using deep breathing, watching a streaming series, listening to music, doing something self-soothing, such as hugging a body pillow or teddy bear while lying in bed, and so on. Now, if you're communicating well with your team, they might be willing to come to you when they're struggling with distress, and you can help direct them to the appropriate list of replacement strategies. It can also be helpful to offer to do the strategies with them to help get them started, and this would also serve as a nice show of support. So I encourage you to use these 6 steps to help your team cope with self-harm behavior. If you need help implementing these strategies, please get in touch with us at Sullivan Associates Clinical Psychology. If you enjoyed this video, like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.